Alright, I am getting ready to go see... What are they called? Thunderbolts. Asterisk. I don't know what the asterisk is for yet. Actually, I think I do. I think I've been lightly spoiled on this. I'm not really sure why I picked this movie to go watch. Let's get that like right in the way of my head, please. That would be perfect. It's May. Maybe intentionally. I always associate Marvel movies with May. I watched, when the Avengers was coming out. When I was 12, the Avengers came out, and I saw that in theaters, and it was great. And Marvel, for the next 10-ish years, consistently put out really great event movies in May. Just in terms of I gotta go to this movie in 2 minutes, so I can't yap too long here. But oh no, if I sit and yap for more than 2 minutes, I might miss 2 whole minutes of previews. I mean ads. It probably would have been funnier if I went ads. I mean previews. I think that's how I wrote it in my head. Probably should have slowed down in saying that, but oh well, whatever. I am a Marvel fan. In the same way, an MCU fan, in the same way that I'm a Star Wars fan, in that some of these things I really like, or at least I really remember liking, and I have strong associations with them, but in this Disney Plus era, where there's a new hit TV show that's coming out, every week, basically. And if you don't watch that, you're missing out on all these great conversations, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. No one in real life has ever actually talked to me about Severance, so I don't really think I'm missing anything. But I think I've seen most of the Marvel movies up to this point. The last Marvel movie I saw was the last Spider-Man, I want to say No Way Home, in 2021, which was fine. There was a shot that I really liked in it. I've heard it's kind of a pain to go through on the rewatch, but I remember liking it in theaters. And I like Spider-Man, so I'm sure if I watched it again, I would give it a pass. And the last Marvel thing I watched was Moon Knight in, I think, the beginning of 2022. I want to say it ended in April or something. And that was fine. All the Marvel stuff, it feels like I went from really big event stuff that you had, you have your Iron Mans, but I was, 6 when that came out? Was it 6? No, Iron Man was 08. But I was I wasn't going to see Iron Man when it came out, because I was, a dumb little baby. But from about 2012 to, I'll say, 2020, yeah, their Marvel movies were these great, really big event movies that you would go out with your friends and family and see, and I always liked that. And I don't know anything about the Thunderbolts, the team, or whatever, but I also knew not the most about the Avengers going into the Avengers when I was 12. I know Black Widow's dad, David Harbour, I think is gonna be in this movie. Bucky's gonna be in this movie. I hate Bucky. I've never liked Bucky. Florence Pugh is in this movie. I think she's Black Widow's sister. That is about all I know. Outside of what I think is the meaning of the asterisk, which they will probably address. In terms of... Yeah, it's only 7:42, who cares? In terms of what I'm hoping to get, I don't know. I paid $15 for this. I think maybe it was rounded up to 16. I'm hoping for, I guess something that I won't hate. I'm looking to have a decent time, and I'm looking for something to recommend you guys. I'm looking to be hey, this is actually a pretty fun movie. And I'm looking for something that I'll remember. I'm not going to hold it to a particularly high standard. I'm not gonna be like, this isn't, Iron Man 2 tier. I actually love Iron Man 2. That's probably the whole reason why I'm out here right now, is that I rewatched Iron Man 2 the other night. I'm like, this is a good movie. It's not done perfectly, but like, this is really fun. So, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say. I'm by myself. If you can't tell, there's no beautiful second person in Shotgun, so it's just me. Alright, let's go watch Thunderbolts asterisk. Alright, one Thunderbolts asterisk later. Bum. That was that was a Marvel movie. Think I can just color correct my way out of this. I look vaguely me colored. It's very white out there. Probably drop the gain, bump the lift. Yeah, give me some little color boost here. But yeah, I don't know. That was fine. That was completely fine. That was a perfectly decent movie. How funny would it be if someone like hit my car while I was recording this? A big truck. Alright. In terms of previews, they're making a Superman movie with Superman in it. They're making a schlocky movie with a guy with a hook for a hand. They're making another Jurassic Park movie, but Scarlett Johansson's gonna be in this one. I don't know why they're still making Jurassic Park movies. I was thinking about it. I feel like I have only ever really lived in a post-CG world. So it kinda, I don't know, I see a big dinosaur, I know it's fake, I know it's digital. It doesn't seem that cool to me anymore. You can't sell me on a Jurassic Park movie like you could. Well, no, I think the original Jurassic Park dinosaurs were real. But yeah, that's not a selling point anymore. And I don't know who is watching these Jurassic Park movies. Have I seen all the Jurassic Parks now? No, I didn't see the oldest new Chris Pratt one. The first Chris Pratt one. I've only seen Chris Pratt 2, Dinosaur Elevators, and Chris Pratt 3, Locusts. Are there 4 original Jurassic Parks or just 3? There's Jurassic Park. There's Jurassic Park 2, with the ballerina flip girl who kills the dinosaur. There's Jurassic Park 3 with, the guy who learns to be a dad in the first one. Jurassic Park 3 is kind of okay. But there's like, I don't know, maybe 2 good Jurassic Park movies out of 6. It just seems like kind of a weird thing to keep investing in. But, guess it makes money. A24 is making a UFC movie that looks pretty good. I kind of like the aesthetic of it. I thought there was kind of like a cool sort of VHS look to it. And then they released that the lead of this movie is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And all of my interest in this movie suddenly died. Because I don't know. I like The Jungle Cruise as much as the next guy, but I don't really know if I want the Jungle Cruise Rock in this, like, kind of grounded UFC movie. I don't know. They're making like a Naked Gun reboot. I saw like poster for this on the way in with Liam Neeson, and it looked really stupid. And I said to myself, good luck with that, Liam. And then during the trailers, they had it, and they're making jokes, and it seems pretty funny. And there's even a joke about OJ in there. I don't know. It would be nice if we could get a straight comedy that is actually funny. That would be wonderful. So I might actually go see that, even if it is a reboot of something that's already come out. Speaking of reboots that have things that are already come out, they're making a live-action How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know why. It's like Disney Jungle Book live-action. I don't I do not understand the appeal of that. Like, in animation, you can control everything down to the last frame. You know, you have absolute control over all your models and all your lighting and whatnot. Why would you... Like money, right? Like the answer is like, oh, well, they liked How to Train Your Dragon once, so they'll probably watch it again, right? I don't know. That's just so cynical, though, but I can't think of a reason why someone would be like, hey, I really want to see How to Train Your Dragon, but, like, not animated. Because, like, it's an animated film. I don't know. I'm being boring. Oh, they're doing... Oh, yeah, and the lead actor in How to Train Your Dragon looks like a young Dr. James Wilson, or Robert Sean Evans, depending on your familiarity with him. They're making another Tron. The soundtrack to that seemed pretty fun, which I hope so. Was the soundtrack to the original Tron good? I remember very little about that movie, but I know the Tron that came out 2010, 2014 range, I had Daft Punk on that. And that soundtrack's pretty good. I've listened to that all the way through. Never seen that one, though. They're doing Fantastic Four. I don't really like their Johnny Storm. I don't think he was hot enough. Silver Surfer is a woman. I don't know. Makes me think they're not going for a straight, like, Norrin Rad Silver Surfer, which means they're probably... Norrin Rad is such a stupid name for someone named Silver Surfer. I'm Norrin Rad. So, I don't know, maybe they wanted some flexibility in there, and that's a good way to signal that, like, oh, it's not the typical Silver Surfer. But it is Galactus, presumably. It's a guy in a stupid helmet who's looming over Earth, but it's also a big foot on the ground. And to my knowledge, Galactus doesn't need to put his feet on the ground to eat planets. He's, like, much bigger than planets. But we'll probably circle back to that at the end of this. But their Johnny Storm was, like, kind of ugly, and I don't think that works. I think you need a hot Chris Evans Johnny Storm. Not literally Chris Evans, but, like, you need a hot Johnny Storm. And he just looked bleh. AI is giving me a breakdown of my movie concepts that I just wrote in. Superman horror, Jurassic Park plus Scarlett Johansson, sports movies, wrestling movies. Can I... Me to the future, remind me to cut this, like... Not cut it out, but, like, in the YouTube thing. A little brief AI tangent here. Doesn't an AI summary cost more than just a stock Google search? Isn't Google losing money by generating this stupid summary that I'm not even interested in? Yeah. Female Silver Surfer in the past. This could add interest. Who is that for? It's not helping me search anything. I was just using Google as a... I don't know why I'm thinking you can look at that. I don't want to edit that to make it look like you can view it. I was just using Google to take notes. That just seems like a weird thing. Because I think, like, every number or something of letters makes them generate a token. And that token costs more than, like, a typical Google search. I'm not 100% sure how it works. But, I don't know. Whatever. In terms of the movie itself, it was fine. It was totally fine. Marvel movies were about as good as when I left. Which isn't a bad thing. In terms of, like, a quick little non-spoiler stuff, it's fine. Yeah, this was, like, a completely serviceable movie. I thought it was kind of preachy, but also kind of shallow in what it was preaching about. It seems like there's an interesting story that they could tell in the superhero genre, but that story is kind of hampered by who they decide the lead character to be. But it was fine. This was a fine movie. I might go out and buy some more Florence Pugh stock. I hope she hasn't signed up to too big of a picture deal with Marvel, because I was like, oh, she should really be in more things. She's, like, pretty solid in this, and everything I've seen Florence Pugh in, she's, you know, consistently really good. So I hope she's not too busy with all this Marvel stuff, because I don't really know if this is gonna get her what she wants. Unless she just wants an assload of money, in which case, hey, go Florence Pugh. Do I have any other non-spoiler thoughts? It's fine. It's like a completely fine movie. If you're looking for an excuse to eat movie theater popcorn, this is it. You know? I don't know, Are there better movies in theaters right now? Sinners is probably better than this. I haven't seen Sinners. But that movie actually spread word of mouth, which I think is a good sign. I saw a bunch of people out for Lilo and Stitch. If you have kids, I'd go to Lilo and Stitch instead of this. Except that's another live-action animated remake. I don't know, man. And were movies better a decade ago, or was I just 12? I don't know. I feel like The Avengers was better than this, but I also feel like this is going for a different thing than The Avengers. Alright. That's the end of the spoiler stuff. Non-spoiler stuff. I'm just gonna go run through the movie. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, I mean, like, the cast is good. The movie's fine. The movie's fine. In terms of spoilery stuff, or just like a quick run through, it starts off with Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh's like, man, I hate my job. I sure do hate killing people. Not really like the killing people part, but like, I don't really like my job. I'm kind of bummed. And she works for Julia Louis Dreyfus, who's like evil Tulsi Gabbard in this universe. And evil Tulsi Gabbard is in an impeachment trial. And also, Bucky Barnes, aka Bucky Barnes. Bucky Barnes. I don't know what came over me right there. Wow, it's hot in this car. Not that hot. I might take the shirt off, but I also think this shirt's kind of cool, so I don't want to. Bucky Barnes. I love Stanley. I love his stupid names. Okay. Back to the Silver Surfer thing for a second. So, wait. Okay. Silver Surfer is bald because everyone on Zen-La, which is like the Silver Surfer planet, they're not all Silver Surfers. Zen-La is just like Earth for the like humans, basically. Except all the men are bald and have like funky eyeshadow, or maybe that's just a stylistic thing. But all the women have hair. So, maybe this is just like, I forget, who's Silver Surfer's lady's name? Bala Shaw? I want to say Bala Shaw. If I get that right, I'm pretty proud of myself. So maybe it's just like Bala Shaw accepted the call of duty to go be the Herald of Galactus in order to save Zen-La, and Norrin Radd's just like hanging out. Maybe that's how they'll do it. Spoilers for first issue of Silver Surfer, by the way. Anyways, Bucky Barnes. So Florence Pugh, whose name is like Yelena or something, is working for evil Tulsi Gabbard, Julia Louis Dreyfus. I think it's intentional. They give her like a little Pepe Le Pew hair color thing, which I think is like a Tulsi Gabbard thing. I'm not gonna look that up. I think she's evil Tulsi Gabbard, because I think Tulsi Gabbard's like head of the FBI or CIA. I don't know. I just work here. There's a golf cart in here. That's wacky. And she's like, I hate my job. And she's like, hey, oh, and then she goes to visit, this is, Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh goes to visit her dad. Her dad is David Harbour, who was like Captain America, but Russian and kind of dumpy, and I don't really know that much about him, because of, I didn't see the Black Widow movie all the way through. I want to keep going, Bucky Barnes. I might do that a couple more times, but I've already blown 14 minutes. So Florence Pugh goes to visit her dad, and she's like, hey dad, do you like your job? And David Harbour's like, yes. And she's like, for real? David Harbour's like, no, I kind of hate my job. Can you give me your job? I would like to go do things, wet work for Julia Louis Dreyfus. And Florence Pugh goes, oh, okay. No, by the way, I'm not going to tell you Julia Louis Dreyfus about you. But, hey there, I'm going to call Julia Louis Dreyfus up. Hey there, Julia Louis Dreyfus. Can you give me a job that I can feel good about? And Julia Louis Dreyfus goes, okay, yeah, just go to this one spot, and then, we'll wipe your slate clean, and then you can go do cool things. And Florence Pugh goes, alright, cool. So Julia Louis Dreyfus sends Florence Pugh to this little base. I think I already talked that Julia Louis Dreyfus was getting impeached, but that's not going anywhere. So she goes there, and then she meets 4 other people. The ghost lady. So it's Florence Pugh, our main cast. So Florence Pugh bumps into these other people. There's Florence Pugh. There's evil Captain America from the Captain America. No, from the. Is it Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Captain America and the Winter Soldier? The show where there's Captain America and he's evil. Because it's not Chris Evans, it's just some guy, and he was in a show. It's Florence Pugh, evil Captain America, the ghost lady from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and there's a 4th person who just gets shot and dies. Maybe that's Taskmaster? I didn't finish Black Widow, so I don't know. And then a 5th guy named Bob who pops out of a crate and goes, wow! I think I am the number 1 fan. Well, that's not true, because I don't even know the character's name. I am a big fan of Ghost Lady from Ant-Man and the Wasp. I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was kind of a really dumb, stupid movie. But just like that power set of, oh, I can phase through walls, I think that is perfect for a movie. I think that's really cool, and I wish she got her own movie. Or, you know, not the one that I would have to pay for, but I would watch that. I would watch more with her. I don't know, they address this in the narrative, but this is a real, like, bottom of the barrel, what's left at the bottom of our pot here. What actors can we still afford to not have to pay too much in order to put in a movie franchise? They must have paid Pedro Pascal a pretty penny. They must have paid Pedro Pascal a pretty penny to play Mr. Fantastic. Only so many P's in that sentence. Because I was thinking about it. There's a meta-narrative thing of, and I'm just gonna do this now. There's a meta-narrative thing of like, oh man, all the Avengers are gone. That sure is sad. We need new Avengers. In like a real, what was, Impossible Squad? What's the movie? Suicide Squad. In a real Suicide Squad kind of way, it's like, we need new heroes. Let's get these bad guys. Except not really, but they kind of do that at the end. But spoilers. Anyways, these random schmucks bump into each other. They kill the one person that I didn't name because maybe that's Taskmaster. Maybe it's not. And then they're at the bottom of this tube, and Julia Louis Dreyfus is like, hey, I'm gonna kill all you guys. Cool. Alright. And then obviously they escape because they're the protagonists of this movie. And this random guy's named Bob, and he doesn't do anything important. And then they all climb to the top and try to get out of this bunker. And they escape kind of, sort of. And Florence Pugh and Bob talk. And Florence Pugh's like, I hate my job and I'm bummed. And Bob is like, me too, but in a sad way. This is kind of a sad movie. We're kind of bummed. And they escape. But Bob sacrifices himself. But, oh man, it turns out he's actually Sentry, which is like Marvel's Superman. He's bulletproof and he can fly and he can do telekinesis and he can beat up your dad and he can use the Force and he can heat metal and fold shields and, dye his hair. I'll get back to that later. So they all leave And then Bucky Barnes, who's in this movie, chases... Okay, so David Harbour shows up, and he says, hey, I want to be in this movie too. I'm Florence Pugh's dad, and I saw Florence Pugh I saw Julia Louis Dreyfus talking to her aide in a scene that we didn't talk about. And he puts it together that Julia Louis Dreyfus is going to kill Florence Pugh. So he drives a limo, and he follows her out into the desert, and presumably drives, like... How far is Baltimore to... They never say where it is, but if he's on the other side of Oklahoma... New Mexico, probably? Isn't that, like, 3,000 miles? How is he driving there in a limo so fast? I don't know. Double check that math, me from the future. But, yeah. I don't know. But he shows up and he says, alright, hey guys, come get my limo. We're gonna have a fun little conversation, and we're talking about blah 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 blah. Oh, you guys call yourself the Thunderbolts? Cause we were talking about our stupid, like, childhood sport team names earlier, and Florence Pugh, said Thunderbolts. Oh, that's so crazy. We are named the Thunderbolts now. And that makes David Harbour happy because he wants to be part of a superhero team. I can only think of the Rad Russian from the South Park WWE episode. There's a lot of funky Russian accents in this. On the Rad Russian. Oh, South Park. So then they're in the limo, and then military only cars show up, and they chase them down. I don't know if there's people in these cars, because the movie doesn't want to kill anyone. And they're, like, shooting at the limo, and bang, bang, bang. And it's like, oh no, what are we gonna do against these cars? And then Bucky Barnes shows up. Bucky Barnes! Bucky Barnes! He shows up on a motorcycle, and he blows up those military cars, and then he blows up the limo, and then they're fine, everyone's fine, but he, like, kidnaps them, and he calls up Julia Louis Dreyfus's, like, chief aide, and is like, hey, I got these guys, can you put me in, like, the main plot line of this movie, please? And the main aide is like, oh yeah, the password into the main plot line of this movie is Bob and Sentry, and everyone else is like, that's what we were just telling you, Bucky Barnes. Bob is Sentry. And he goes, okay, now I'm involved in the plot. He's a senator, by the way. I hope we get senators with robot arms do we have senators with robot arms now? Me from the future, look up how many cyborg senators and or congressmen we have right now. Alright, great. Do any of them have robot arms? That's disappointing. And or, wow, that's pretty cool, I didn't know that. I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm asking the question. Anywho, Bucky Barnes! Bucky Barnes! Okay. And then, oh, yeah, so Bob sacrifices himself, but then finds out that he's Superman, and then he falls asleep because he doesn't know how to control his powers and gets captured, and Julia Louis Dreyfus is like, hey there, Bob, congratulations, you're Superman, and I'm your boss. And he goes, okay, that's cool. And he has the Force. And then ... Florence Pugh and the gang decide to go beat up Julia Louis Dreyfus. So they go up to... Julia Louis Dreyfus owns the Avengers Tower now, ? Remind me to get back to New York in a second here. They go upstairs to go beat up, on Julia Louis Dreyfus, and Julia Louis Dreyfus is like, haha, fuck you, I have Superman. I own him, because I was working on this project the whole time. I was trying to build Superman. I'm Julia Louis Dreyfus. I'm like an evil, military serum maker. And also we have a kill switch in Bob, aka Sentry, aka Superman. So they all go to beat up Sentry, and they can't because he's Superman. So Bob Superman beats the piss out of Florence Pugh and company. And then they all just go downstairs and are sad. And they're like, oh, this is the part of the movie where we're sad now. We're friends and we break up and Florence Pugh and her dad, David Harbour, talk about how stuff is sad and how he could have been a better dad, yada, yada, yada. And then upstairs, that's a cool echo. Upstairs, Sentry/Bob tells Julia Louis Dreyfus that he doesn't want a human boss, and he goes to like choke slam her. I think that's coming this way. I don't know. Joe's choke slams her. And Julia Louis Dreyfus presses this little. Oh no, she doesn't press the button. She drops the remote to activate the kill switch, but her aide, who basically isn't in the last 2/3 of the movie. This is like a little tangent here while we wait for that to clear, and you know, I don't want to ruin your audio on your very important Thunderbolts asterisk review. I feel like there's a ratio of coolness of a car divided by volume of the car. You know? And I feel like most of the time that ratio is not met. Is under 1. I feel like there's a lot of... It's really easy to make a car loud, and I feel like a lot of people think that equates to a cool car. Not this guy. But, you know, to each their own. Anywho, Julia Louis Dreyfus's aide presses a button to activate a kill switch in Sentry, but really it just knocks him out, and everyone goes downstairs except Sentry. Julia Louis Dreyfus's aide is talking to Bucky Barnes in the beginning of the movie when he's still in, like, congressman mode. This wasn't a very funny movie. Like, it takes itself a little seriously, and we'll get into that in a second, but there were no laughs in this movie. Well, that's oversimplification. This movie was not nearly as funny as I remember Marvel movies being. I remember these, like, big, maybe not gut busters, but theaters full of laughing people. There were occasional laughs in this movie. There's some stuff that I think is kind of funny. Not really enough to, like, ha ha ha, audibly, but like snaff, you know, like one of those. Bucky Barnes puts his robot arm in the washing machine? No, what is it for plates? Dishwasher. That's kind of fun. There's probably other things. I don't remember what they are. But it's not a very funny movie. It's not as funny as I remember Marvel movies being. Bucky Barnes. Drop the beat, Bucky Barnes. Bucky Barnes. So anyways, everyone's bummed and sad about how they didn't win this fight, and now they're gonna go be sad. And, oh, yeah, so everyone's bummed, but Florence Pugh and her dad are better now. So then they send military schmucks. Julia Louis Dreyfus sends military schmucks to go deal with Bob's corpse or something like that. I mean, I don't know how effective she thought the button would be. But, no, there's no corpse there. What? And then we get a scene of Bob, who's like blacked out now. He's like all the way voided out. He's like Vanta Black, and he's floating. And then there's just some military schmuck who like just starts shooting at him, and he's like, pfft, and he makes him like a, for lack of a better term, like Hiroshima scorch mark. And then a guy in a helicopter comes by and opens up like the cargo door of the helicopter and starts shooting an assault rifle at Bob. And Bob is like, now you're also a scorch mark. He starts making people scorch marks. We get kind of a nice scene, actually, one that I did like and enjoy, of Bob is, like, fucking up New York City, and the Thunderbolts * Florence Pugh and Company have to save people. I like saving people montages in superhero movies because they are very few and far between, and it's like a great little save the cat thing, you know? It also helps show off your super team, which is kind of nice. Oh yeah, Bob has the power to bring me, the audience who didn't see all these movies, up to speed on why these characters are sad and miserable, which is very convenient. Anyways, saving montage, but then evil Bob comes down, and David Harbour just saved this kid, and Bob goes, that child, now a scorch mark. And everyone's like, no! And then for some reason, Bob doesn't scorch mark any of these people who he was just kind of mad at 2 scenes ago, because he was fighting them. I don't know. His whole, I really don't buy Bob. I never understand what I'm supposed to be feeling about this character. At the very beginning, I shouldn't be playing with that. At the very beginning, he's kind of like, ha ha ha, I don't know anything, I have amnesia. And then, I think we're supposed to think that he likes Florence Pugh and Company, and then I think we're supposed to think that he likes Julia Louis Dreyfus instead. Julia Louis Dreyfus, by the way, is like the only fun part about this movie. She is like wickedly evil, and she's like, and she just always has a little plan, and I like that. There aren't enough schemers in movies anymore. I like a good schemer. So, anyways, Bob is scorch marking people, but not our main cast, and everyone's freaking out, and New York is running away, and everyone's scared, and I was thinking to myself, why does anyone live in a major metropolitan area in these Marvel movies? Because, like, they reference in universe that the Chitauri, I think, did take place in 2012, which was like 13 years ago, and, like, wouldn't everyone just move out of big cities? Maybe Rent is really good. Maybe, like, alien invasions in New York, like, cratered Rent because everyone who could move moved. There's an interesting, like, 6-hour-long video essay in there that I don't want to make and that I wouldn't watch, so it's probably not that interesting. But, like, how the events of the Marvel Universe would impact rent and food prices. Because, like, the attack on New York, like, I'm moving out of New York if that happens. I don't want to be attacked by aliens. But, like, on the other hand, I don't know, maybe cool alien stuff. And then there's the whole snap thing. Like, what do you do? Oh my goodness, can you imagine having to pay rent, and then your roommate disappears, so now you have to pay all that rent by yourself? How long? I think there's like a couple years, too. Well, maybe you just sell their stuff. This is probably in some Disney Plus show, they reference this, that I don't want to watch. Anyways, Bob is out scorch marking people, and Florence Pugh is like, wait, I'm gonna go walk into the scorch mark. And so she does, and then Florence Pugh goes back to her sad flashback that we see earlier in the movie, and then she's running through a bunch of sad flashbacks. Were she and Black Widow blood sisters? Or were they, like, just kind of homies that called each other sisters? I don't know. Anyways, it turns out that Bob is just sad, and, like, this is, like, sad Bob on the inside of this scene, inside the scorch mark, and that's, like, evil Bob outside, and evil Bob is the one that has all the powers, but also not really, because we saw him, like, beat up Florence Pugh and Company, and not look like a Vanta Black monster with, like, little pinpricks for eyes. And anyways, all the people come on in, and they team up, and Turns out Bob is sad, just like everyone else in this movie. We're all so sad, and that's why we're mean to each other. And then, there's a bunch of stuff. There's like 20 minutes of that. And then everyone comes together and becomes best friends and agrees to love each other and support each other in their depression. Yada, yada, yada. Let's wrap this up, guys. This is when I was like, dang, I really gotta pee. I can't wait for this movie to be over. Which isn't a good sign. In terms of, like, emotional reactions to this movie that were not me, there was when David Harbour saves this kid. There's a cute little moment. And then Bob comes down and, like, poof, and that kid is, like, erased, scorch-marked. Someone audibly gasped. Good sign. That person, or someone sitting right next to me, fell asleep. Bad sign. Not a whole lot of laughter. Bad sign. Especially when there were a lot of jokes. Or at least, it's not like weed and quippy, but there's a lot of like, ha ha ha, I'm ribbing you, character whom I don't like. Alright, I can only vamp for 17 more minutes. And maybe someone cried in this sad, we gotta support each other end of the movie. I couldn't tell, so possible thumbs up in the crying department. Yeah, and then they all agree to support each other and love each other and be nice, and then they see Julia Louis Dreyfus, and they're like, well, we're gonna go punch her in the mouth. And Julia Louis Dreyfus is like, oh, don't hit me, you wouldn't hit a guy with a Tulsi Gabbard, Pepe Le Pew hair, would you? Ah! And she steps out, and it turns out she's holding a press conference, and she's like, welcome, the new Avengers! Wow! And then Florence Pugh leans in, and she's like, we own you now, Julia Louis Dreyfus, which, like, no? Why would you say that? Like, I mean, you guys really have no relationship to each other. And that's like, you're not her boss. She's like, if anything, your marketing director. What? I don't know. And then the movie ends, and then the first post-credits scene is David Harbour, who's shaved now, like, harassing a woman at a grocery store, and he's like, hey, I'm on this cover of Wheaties, buy these Wheaties. And the woman's like, bye. And then the final post-credit sequence. I don't know why I was sitting through the post-credit sequences. Because, like, I don't really care about Marvel as a franchise now. So why am I sitting through these? I guess, like, I don't want to miss anything that I paid for. I paid $16 for this. I might as well sit through the whole credit sequence. Just so I can see another snippet of film. And see a Tide advertisement. Blech. Anyways, post-credit scene. Yeah, because you get, like, your fun credits with the actors and maybe a director, and then you get the credits, black and white, not fun credits with, like, everyone who worked on the film. Like, 9 million VFX artists. The post-credit sequence is vamping. Anthony Mackie owns the title of Avengers, and he doesn't want to give it to them, Florence Pugh and company, which is weird. Yeah, because it's like they're called the New Avengers. I don't know why this movie is called Thunderbolts ***. Like, you could call it Thunderbolts : New Avengers, but then you really make a strong comparison to the Avengers. You could call it Thunderbolts ***, and you could be like, well, it's because Florence Pugh doesn't actually like the title Thunderbolts, but, like, none of them like the title Thunderbolts. You can have a tongue-in-cheek title, that's fine. Post-credit sequence, David Harbour vamps, Tide advertisements. We reference the fact that Falcon exists. A lot of shields in this movie. The guy who gets the head blown off also has a shield. Evil Captain America has a shield. I don't know, just like vibranium is a cheap thing all of a sudden. Maybe it's just fancy metal. I don't know. And then we see a ship that looks like the ship the Master Chief rides at the end of Halo 2, and then it turn slightly and it says 4 and it's like, whoa, Fantastic Four, whoa. I don't know. The movie it's fine. It's a fine movie. It was expensive to make, I'm sure. None of the sets looked particularly nice. The acting was all fine. I don't think the superhero team are all super bummed and that's why they form around each other in order to be like a support structure for each other. There's something there. I just don't think this movie plays it right. You know? I feel like Florence Pugh is the one who should have these evil void superpowers. And she's not. It's this other guy. So why is Florence Pugh our point of view character? Because she's like, you know, the bankable star, but... bleh. And it just... I don't know. It just felt like Instagram therapy. And I didn't really want Instagram therapy in my Marvel movie. It's fine. I would say... well, how many Marvel movies have I seen? This is like Iron Man 2 tier, but I didn't like it. I really like Iron Man 2. Both of these are movies that I think have some... well, I don't really think this movie has any interesting ideas in a vacuum, but at least interesting ideas that are fresh to the MCU. I haven't seen them talk about this therapy. Wait, no, this is like Guardians, though. Guardians does this, but is much less on the nose about it. Yeah. This is like... yeah, this is like worse Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like less fun, less entertaining, less emotionally resonant Guardians of the Galaxy. So... what's the floor? If Guardians of the Galaxy is like up here, and here we have like your big tent Marvel movies, your Infinity, was it Endgame then Infinity War? Was it Infinity War Endgame? Whichever one, both of them were like big event movies, and the Avengers is also up there. And then we get like kind of this middle area where it's like, well, here's your Avengers Age of Ultron, and here's your Iron Man 2, and here's your Iron Man 3, except Iron Man 3 actually slaps. That's a great movie. You guys are too mean to Iron Man 3. That's a good movie. I guess the villain isn't the strongest, but also the villain isn't the strongest in this. This is, I would say, more memorable than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Possibly, I am only saying that because I just watched this, and I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp whenever it came out, and I only remembered the fact that Paul Rudd is in it. Well, there's the truth serum scene, and the ghost powers lady. Isn't Morpheus in that? What's his name? Alright, I'm just gonna let that one go. I'm sure I'll remember it later. What's the worst Marvel movie I've seen in theaters? Is it Ant-Man and the Wasp? Yeah. This is, you know, really middling Marvel. This is perfectly fine, decent Marvel. None of the fights I thought were that interesting. It reminded me a lot of, like, Mortal Kombat, but not in the blood and guts way, but in, like, the, oh, we're kind of really flat, but every now and then, everyone's got, like, a little move they can do, like, and then I'm Bucky, so I pull out my gun, or I punch you with my big arm, or I'm Ghost Lady, and like Smoke from Mortal Kombat 9, I can appear behind you and then punch you over there. But we never really see them use their powers, I think, in any interesting ways, probably because most of our people don't have interesting powers outside of Ghost Lady, who gets, like, nothing to do in this movie. Yeah, that's the other thing. No one really has an arc, except for Florence Pugh, Bob, and maybe David Harbour. But everyone else is just like, we gotta be friends and be nice to each other. Mwah, that's me. Me loving my friends. Me when I see my friends. Mwah. I don't know. It's fine. This is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Mostly because I was like kind of pissed off watching that movie. Because it's like, oh, we'll talk about physics and Pym particles and changing the distance. I'm like, well, then how does mass and density work in this world? I was never mad at Thunderbolts when I was watching it. I was just like, this is completely fine. This is kind of plain-looking action. This is decent acting. This is relatively uninteresting music. But nothing in it is particularly bad. It's just kind of eh. What else? I feel like that's my review for most movies, though. I come out here, I pay $16, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Alright, what are some movies I've seen and seen? Is this better than Minecraft? Yes, because it didn't look as ugly as Minecraft. It looks grounded, and I thought Minecraft kind of actively looked ugly. What else did I see in theaters? Is this better than Sonic 3? No. Yeah, this is... So... Minecraft... Thunderbolts. I forgot the title of the movie I just saw. That's a good sign. Sonic 3. So... Does this work both ways? I would think so. X is greater than... Yeah. Power without righteousness is just an opinion. That's a good line. They give that to Julia Louis Dreyfus. In kind of a throwaway scene where she's talking to her aide. But that's a good line. Like, this is not a bad movie. There's also like some weird editing stuff where it's like we gotta see what Julia Louis Dreyfus, but this is a completely fine, serviceable movie. This is better than Wonder Woman 84. But this is, I would say, worse than Iron Man 2. Or at least, like, I would much rather watch Iron Man 2 than watch this movie again. What's beeping on that side? What tally light is showing? Oh, is it over this? Oh, yeah, it is. Alright, well, that's all I have. I'm only allowed to record for 5 more minutes anyways, so... Just kind of to play myself out here. Bucky bars, Bucky bars, Bucky bars, Bucky bars, Bucky bars, Bucky Barnes.